Destiny, I want to stick with you for a second. Before the election, you tweeted, if Kamala ends up winning, the entire far left, the commies, tankies, Hamas support.
Okay. Now what you're about to watch is absolutely wild. Cenk and Destiny just went nuclear on David Pakman's show, completely exposing how both parties are falling apart. But listen, this isn't just about progressives versus moderates. This is about a complete system breakdown that nobody's talking about. Every single faction is eating itself alive, and the receipts, they're all here. Let's break this down together.
Etc. need to be effing jettisoned from the party. We don't need them to win. We can turn out our own base, and they are an absolute effing cancer to be associated with. Given Trump's victory, and whatever it means to you, do you stand by that?
Yeah, 1,000,000,000,000%. I think that having to answer for
you.
Having to, well, but I mean, I represent far more of the party than the far left
Apparently you
does.
don't. Apparently you represent the loser.
Oh. Now we're getting to the real story. See what Destiny just revealed about the media ecosystem? This is exactly what we've been exposing. The right-wing media, complete echo chamber, mainstream media, playing both sides, progressive media, fractured and fighting itself. But here's the thing, though. This is by design. The entire system is built to protect corporate power while making us fight each other.
You don't. Apparently you represent the loser wing.
You can the loser, like every progressive candidate that is running in all of their elections that are being tossed. They lose their primaries. They lose their actual elections. Like they're losers. They're by definition, they're losers.
Hold up. Let me connect these dots for you. Notice how Destiny's talking about progressives losing, but here's what's crazy. He's completely missing the bigger picture. The establishment Democrats, they've lost thousands of seats under their leadership. Every single time. They push a corporate candidate, they barely scrape by. This isn't about left versus right anymore. This is about a complete system failure.
The issue is that one is the lefty media sphere will never ever support a candidate that is electable in the mainstream. They just won't. They turned on Bernie Sanders and they turned on AOC. Even those people aren't far left enough for the insanity that is the far left online now. So trying to kowtow to this like group of people who want to see like an actual communist or like this like anti capitalist or this like just somebody that's too far left that most European countries probably wouldn't even support in leadership. It's just an unrealistic proposition. Unless they can actually prove, some of their, I guess, merit at more local levels, or even like in congressional levels, rather than just like for the presidential race. That's number one. And number two, that media sphere is toxic, and we have to pretend that they're part of the in-group. Again, a big benefit that Trump enjoys is when he gets attacked, Trump can run this whole media circuit on the right where every single person is sycophantically obsessed with him. He doesn't have to answer any attacks. He can sit there and attack the other side endlessly and relentlessly, and there's no accountability. And then you're Kamala Harris or you're, the Democratic candidate. It's like, okay, well, going on the right platforms is very difficult because these people are going to, rake me over the coals. And then I go to the left platforms. These people all call me corporate sellouts, donor class, whatever. Okay, well, Jesus, I've got my center left media, but they're so obsessed with trying to be fair and balanced and to try to not be not have like Trump derangement syndrome that they're going to hold me like ultra accountable. So you have these wacky, unbelievable moments where people like Walz and Vance are on stage. And the question for Walz is, didn't you lie 20 or 30 years ago about the months you were in Taiwan? And then the question for Vance is like, did you really mean it when you said you would also overturn like the next election? And we have to pretend that these two things are even. It's just ridiculous. The Democrat establishment and then the Democratic media sphere needs to do a better job at like reinforcing the voting for the in-group, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is getting your candidate elected. You can do all the activism on Twitter or whatever you want, but if you're not pushing for electable candidates to get elected, then you're engaging in slacktivism.
Cenk, feel free to respond to that however you want, but I would love to hear you address the issue Destiny's bringing up about the asymmetry when it comes to the media ecosystems. And it's not about if she had done Rogan, she would have won. I don't believe that. I don't think there's any evidence of that, but generally the question of the media ecosystem.
Yeah, so lots of thoughts here. First off, why could Trump overcome it and Bernie couldn't? You're leaving out the fact that Trump was an enormous celebrity and they literally gave him over $1 billion in free media as he was running on the Republican side. Whereas Bernie Sanders got, in his miraculous run to catch Hillary Clinton that started in 2015, where he went from 1 point to basically about 48 percentage points, ABC covered him for 7 seconds the whole year. 7 seconds. So that's what mainstream media does, because they're literally corporate media. They're multi-billion-dollar corporations.
Wait. Cenk just dropped a bomb here. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's all the coverage Bernie got from ABC in a year. Meanwhile, Trump got billions in free media. Listen, you guys, this isn't a coincidence. This is how the corporate media machine works. They'll promote chaos and division all day long, but the moment someone threatens their donor class, complete blackout.
So they hate actual populists like Bernie Sanders. Fake populists like Donald Trump, oh, it's a clown show, we're having fun, give him a couple of $1 billion in free media and see how it turns out. Well, it turned out very poorly. And there's a conflation here between mainstream media and left-wing media. I think that the question on the debate stage that Destiny's referring to, yeah, totally outrageous, asymmetrical, ridiculous. Those two things are not comparable. That's mainstream media doing false equivalency. That's not the conversation that we're having here. We're very, very far from mainstream media. So in terms of what went wrong with the Just Democrats real quick, and then I'll come back to what should left-wing media do. So in the beginning, when the co-founders were running it, that's when we ran to 70 candidates and we were very successful. Unfortunately, all of us kind of left the building for different reasons. And then the new management decided they were going to run only a small number of races. But to be fair to them, they actually won a very high percentage of those races in the second time around. That's how they were able to build up from 4 to 11. So there's good arguments, political strategy-wise, for either direction. But what really took the steam out of Just Democrats is that the founders wanted AOC and the others to go in a populist left direction, an economically populist direction. And instead, that's very, very difficult. The reason why it's so difficult is because their colleagues get so mad at them if they talk about money in politics. Because then they all go, are you saying Hakeem Jeffries is corrupt just because he took all this money from the oil companies, the drug companies, the banks, AIPAC, every other lobbyist? You better not be mean to your colleagues. So they powered down on our most popular positions, and they went identitarian left instead. But that is extreme. So that's why Destiny's conflating those two things. And I think, I'm not saying Destiny's doing this, but I think that a lot of people in media almost do that on purpose. A lot of them don't know. They just think progressives means both of those things at the same time. And then they just say, oh, they're all unpopular. And a lot of times, especially mainstream media, they'll go, defund the police, Latinx, universal health care. Wait. One of those things does not belong on that list. Universal healthcare pulls it over 70%. So you've got to separate out those two wings. Anyone who's been economically populist has done a terrific job. For example, Tim Walz. We all like Tim Walz, right? Every wing of the Democratic Party likes Tim Walz. Well, Tim Walz was an economic populist, got a lot of things passed in Minnesota, and was rewarded for it, and was very, very popular in Minnesota because he delivered for the average guy, including paid family leave, and which is actually very, very easy to pass. It's at 84% approval. It's just that the corporate wing goes, yes, I know, it would make us popular. It would help our voters. It's what we promised. It's super easy to pass, but we don't want to because our donors told us not to.
Are you kidding me with this? They're finally admitting it. Paid family leave has 84% approval. 84%. But the corporate wing won't pass it because, wait for it, their donors said no. This is exactly how the system rigs itself. They don't care what the people want. They don't care what polls well. They care about what their corporate donors demand every single time.
Well, that's a wing that's going to get clobbered throughout the rest of time. That's the neoliberal wing. And the idea that the world is not under neoliberal rule right now is absurd. Of course we are. All the countries are under neoliberal corporate rule. And that's why the voters are rebelling against all of them. So what's the media supposed to do? Now, online media, corporate media is going to corporate media. They're always going to tell you whoever takes the most donor money is the greatest. They're leading the race with $1 billion in bribes. Bravo, bravo, terrific job, corporate Democrat, corporate Republican. And remember, guys, Trump beat the corporate Republicans. Like, you guys make it seem like, oh, hey, people are in favor of Republicans, or their voters are still, no, their voters rejected their corporate wing. And it came with a lot of baggage we're not happy with, right? But you have to give them a little bit of credit for actually, not for supporting Trump, who I think is a fake populist, but for at least rejecting Mitch McConnell, rejecting all those guys. So on our side, We say, oh, Mitch McConnell took $1 billion in corporate money throughout his career. Terrible, evil, corrupt guy. Nancy Pelosi took a same $1 billion from very similar donors, did exactly what they wanted, just like Mitch McConnell. Terrific, angel, wonderful. Yeah, you could think that, and you could do all the marketing in the world for rah Nancy Pelosi. But at the end of the day, the American people woke up and they know that the $1 billion, whether it goes to a Republican or a Democrat, is corruption defined.
Listen, you guys, what we just watched isn't just another political debate. This is the entire system exposing itself. Both sides are falling apart, but for different reasons. The progressives can't break through the corporate media blockade. The moderates can't win without their donors. And guess who's laughing all the way to the bank? The same corporate elite that's been running this show the whole time. If you're ready to expose more of these system breakdowns, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop System Exposed in the comments if you're done with both parties' games. We're just getting started.